Hello and good evening, listeners. For the fourth episode of Heavy Ritual Stories, we have invited a very special guest. Edmond is a very well-known musician in Romania's metal scene, and not only. He is based in the west part of the country, and to be more precise, he is from the city of Timisoara. He is the owner of Consonance Studio and the mastermind which is behind the bands Dordeduh, Transceatla and Sunset in the 12th house. And I must say that I am truly honored and surprised at the same time that he accepted my invitation to the fourth episode of this podcast. Edmond, thank you very much for your openness and welcome to this episode. How are you?
Hello everybody. Everything cool, with a beer in my hands, having a good time.
So how is the pandemic for you? How do you feel as an artist in these days? Because we all had many uncertainties and things that we didn't know that could happen in 2020. How are you? How do you feel about it?
This is a quite long story, and especially to begin with this. In my case, there's quite a lot to say because I was kind of living exclusively out of music. Even it was not a fancy life or anything like that, but it was something that is kind of wrapped around my life, and I was not doing anything else than music because I'm working a lot into the events section, live concerts, as mainly as a sound engineer, but also I was doing jobs like I don't know, tour manager or stage manager or even stagehand. So I was quite related with the live scene. And as well, I have a recording studio in Timisoara, in Romania. It's called the Consonance Studio. And this is quite everything that I was doing for earning my money. So, of course, the pandemic actually affected my life big time.
I suppose so, yeah. And have you had many bands that were recording to your studio, to Consonance? How was this aspect, the technical aspect regarding recording? Is somehow pandemic affecting the artists that were in your studio?
To be honest, I think compared with other studios in Romania, actually, I could say that we even dealt pretty well with the situation, because I heard really like horror stories, like half year with zero income and stuff like that. So we still had some bands that still wanted to record and finish their work in our studio. But on the other hand, I'm not working anymore in the studio. So the money that we actually did, like the average monthly money, was not enough to still held all of us in the studio. So actually in the studio, my colleague Sol is working with me, and also our drummer. I think he works already for probably 2 years in our studio. And actually he now became kind of the main guy of the studio. He does most of the production. He's very talented. Even he's, I think, 26, if I'm not mistaken. But he I don't know, developed and acquired quite a lot of information lately, and he does an amazing job. He mixed, for example, the live, the audio for the our anniversary show in which is included in our art book. So I think he does a really great job, and actually I wanted to keep him in the studio, and I think he is the one actually who has a future as a producer and as a sound engineer. And I preferred to find another job, a spare job, and do my earning from that. So at the moment, I'm not working at all anymore after I don't know how many years. I actually could say that never really had just some occasional other jobs when things were not working too well financially with music.
And you said that you had daily jobs besides a musician, let's say. What kind of jobs did you had?
A part of sound engineering and stuff like that.
Apart anything that it's related to being a musician. And
I think the first job I already was having Negură Bunget. I think it was in '96, if I'm not mistaken. In '96, I worked at a big communist factory where actually my father used to work. And I worked as an electrician there. After that, I think in around 97 and probably 99, I restored all furniture, and that was actually a really nice job. I actually liked because it first of all, I could work alone, and I was not related to anyone, and it was a really demanding job. It suited well my OCD personality, probably.
yeah. And
I was also a bartender, and now I work in a IT company.
Okay, and was somehow the electrician part mostly. If I'm not concentrating very much on it, and maybe was it related to your passion regarding sound engineering? And as I know, you made yourself a guitar and certain
guitar, not that. I mean, I did some very rudimentary guitars, but they were not really playable. I mean, on one I started to play. It's true, but it was a shitty instrument. I mean, it was not something professional. But for those years, I mean, I was like 12 or something like that. For those years, because you could not find any kind of musical instruments, it was a blessing for me, because I actually could started playing music, and I could started learning a bit of guitar, and it was good for the beginning. But I mainly did pedals, and later on even amplifiers. And before that, I did a lot of DIY things like antenna amplifiers. Probably people from different countries don't know, but in the 80s, during the communist regime, you had only 2 hours of television, and that every day. And that was mostly communistic propaganda, and this probably in a weekend it was a bit more. It definitely was a bit more program, And I remember we had some really foolish cartoons, and usually there was also a movie around 10 o'clock, but that was only in weekends.
Yeah.
Except weekends, it was only communist propaganda. So for us, living in Timisoara, which is like 180 kilometers away from Belgrade and 280 kilometers away from Budapest, if you were building some kind of antennas on the buildings, and you place a antenna amplifier, you could actually receive those programs on your TV. And that actually, it was a game changer for people. Don't realize that, but for example, I talk now with my girlfriend who's from Brasov, and in Brasov they had 0 other televisions. And actually for us, it was still touched with the Western society, and we had a bit of cultural influence as well, because you see how our neighbors were dealing. And back in those days, I think it was very, very interesting that Yugoslavia, because it was called like that, it was not Serbia like it is now.
Yeah, it was the countries that are now actually
Split, yeah.
Independent. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the 80s, actually, they were doing really well. I mean, compared with us, they were like, I don't know, eons away from us. And I remember they had at the national television a 10 o'clock rock concert in the center of Belgrade, which anything like that, it was unseen for the Romanian audience. So that was my first contact with the music, and it was actually a big deal. And this aspect, to get back to the beginning of this subject, this aspect actually helped me a lot, because I had this knowledges in electronics, and I was able to build all these things to be able to get in contact more with what was happening musically outside of my country.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe one last question from me regarding, let's say, past jobs and this hybrid lifestyle, let's say. Have you achieved somehow a level of comfort regarding working and making music at the same time? And then obviously we will arrive to your new album regarding Dordeduh, but I would really like to see, what do you think about achieving a level of comfort regarding making music and having a daily job, let's say?
To be honest, since I started to, let's say, take my music seriously, I actually had not really any other job except being musician. But not only musician, also all these other things that were related to the musical scene. Because as a musician, I could not earn enough to be able to survive. Mm-hmm. But having all these complementary things that were related to the music, I was able to do. And yes, I'm not a very, how to say, pretentious person. Mm-hmm. I don't need luxury or fancy cars or, I don't know, material acquirings and stuff like that. For me, a decent life is fine with me. As far as I can do my to be active in doing my passion and to develop my creative side, everything was fine with me. So I was able to live quite modestly, but it was, I could say, to answer your question, it was comfortable for me. Of course, now things changed a bit because I have 3 kids, and it's not only me and my girlfriend, because before we were kind of rock and roll. If we wanted to leave, we were leaving the country and we were traveling. We both are big fans of traveling, and we actually travel a lot, and we used to travel a lot. Of course, now this is not possible anymore during the actual pandemic conditions, but it's also not possible because I have this daily job and I have only a certain limited time for vacation. So
yeah.
the good days are gone for me.
Yeah, but
at least for the moment.
Let's hope that better days will come.
I would love to be that optimistic as you are.
I always remember that. For example, you said that you had different responsibilities. Now that you have kids, you have a pretty big, let's say, record label like Prophecy Productions. You have released a new album with Dordeduh, which is called Har, and as I read, Har had quite nice reviews regarding the music and even the artwork and so on. How did you achieve to release such a good album, having so many responsibilities these days? Because I know being an artist is somehow quite independent, and you need time to do it, and time for yourself, basically. How did you manage to work for an album such Har?
Well, I don't know. I'm not the most, I don't know how to say. I kind of have a problem with time management. I'm not really good planning my shit around, because being spread in so many directions and having so many active branches that I work nearly in the same time, it's really, I would not say that it's a mess for me, but when for example the label is telling you, okay, you have to do this really quickly, we need it today till the 8 o'clock, then you leave other things which you probably consider priority for that day, and you start to work on that. So in this kind of stuff, things were quite difficult to be able to schedule all the stuff. And like probably most of the artists would agree with me, creativity and getting inspired is not happening just from one moment to other. Or at least I personally need a bit of time to be able to dive into the right mood to, write music, or to write lyrics, or to do arrangements. Or so the truth is that this album, from my side and from the input that I was bringing to this album, actually was happening after 10 p.m. after I was putting my kids asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not the ideal setup for me and the ideal environment. But I think if somebody really wants to do something, it finds a way to make it happen. And I'm actually very, very happy that I was able to release an album that I think it's at least for my capacity of musical expression, I'm pretty happy with the result. So I'm happy that this album came to life.
Super nice. I know that the final touch, the mastering was done by Jens Bogran, a very well-known producer. How was the collaboration with him? How he comprehended Haar?
Well, first of all, being a sound engineer and having a studio, I was well aware of his work, and he's a highly praised engineer nowadays, probably one of the best metal engineers and producers nowadays. So he's kind of a big shot. And of course, we knew about his work, about his approach, and so on and so forth. And one day, my friend Gunnar Sauerman, he was introducing me to him. And happily for me and for us, we managed to get a deal with him. And of course, being at the level that he is, of course, he is also charging at that level. And we are not a big band. So first of all, it was really important that he actually liked our music, and he, for my surprise, he actually knew about my band, which I thought in the beginning that he's just trying to be nice with me and saying it's just out of complacency. But he actually knew about it, and he told me that a couple of times. And he liked our music, and he offered us a really good deal, and we started working with him. And working with him, he's a high professional person. Everything went smooth and fast and professional.
Yeah, I see. I also heard your last record with Dordeduh, Dordeduh.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there is somehow a step ahead regarding the sound. Do you feel like that? Do you feel that like it is a step ahead for Haar? If we compare it with the sound of Dordeduh, or do you think that Dordeduh should sound like it is, and yeah, that's it? Have you ever thought that Dordeduh should be somehow remastered and I don't know, reworked or so on?
No, not really. I'm not 100% satisfied with what we did. But all in all, I think it's not really a bad sounding album. I think it's quite organic. It sounds quite organic. It's not sounding very modern, which we also wanted to be like that. We wanted to have a analog feeling, organic feeling, and not super produced and super processed. And so it was a bit the aim to not have it extremely polished. And it was also a bit, we wanted to have a bit more, I don't know, this black metal approach, but not necessarily from the musical point of view. Even we have quite a few black metal parts on that album, but it's more about the vision that we had about that album, because we're at least me, I'm still tied to this concept of black metal, and in many aspects of my life, I still follow the same things as I used to follow 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But of course, musically, we don't sound anymore, have nothing in common with what black metal is. But it was in purpose to make a sound a bit more in that direction. But unfortunately, we did some compromises in the beginning, because as a sound engineer, I can tell you that if your signals are recorded well and you have no compromises made on that first stage of the process, and everything is tracked really quality and really well, you have a high chance to have a really good sounding album. And because if you already start with some compromises, as we did, especially with the drums, you end up making compromises. And this unfortunately was our story as well. And we went back and forth on that album. It's actually really difficult to work on your own music because you know what you want, you have a vision what you want to obtain, and you know what are the compromises made on the road, on the process of mixing and mastering, and sometimes you lose a bit the objectivity.
Yeah.
And this is actually what we wanted to avoid on this new album. I said that, and it is actually the first album that I willingly went somewhere else to give this job to somebody else. It was in purpose like that. If we would not have a deal with Jens Bogran, we had other high-end options as well. Actually, before him, I was talking with another producer. So this was planned to be like that.
Okay, super nice. Personally, for me, it is a very, very big step ahead for the whole Romanian music industry, not only for the metal industry, because I know Jens Bogran mastered many other bands and genres and so on, and I don't think this is just basically for metal. This is for the whole music scene or the whole music industry in Romania. So congratulations for this achieving. So I would like to speak about the artwork for your album Har. I know that you collaborated with Costin Chioreanu, a very well-known artist in the metal scene regarding artworks and paintings and so on. How did you manage to contact him? Did you know Costin before starting Dordeduh? How is the relation with him?
Unfortunately, I don't remember which was the first project that I started with him, but we know each other for many, many years. He did also the cover for Sunset in a 12th House, for Mosaic, and he also did for the first album, for Dordeduh. He was not doing the paintings inside, but he actually layered everything down for the album. So he was the one who was putting everything together. So, but I also worked with him, working as a organizer in shows and stuff like that. I remember that I did also some covers for some tours, some posters, some flyers, shirts we did together. The design for shirts, but I think the first thing that we worked actually together was for a festival. I'm not sure. So we actually know each other for, I think, more than 10 years, or maybe even more. I don't know. No, probably around 10 years. And I also introduced him to other musicians, and so
Yeah. So
Anyway, he doesn't need any kind of introduction. He's really known for his work.
yeah. And how was your approach on having this artwork? Because it is quite different from Dordeduh. Dordeduh, for me personally, is having a quite let's say very focused on nature artwork. Why this changing, and how did you feel about it?
Well, it was quite interesting because Costin actually, he contacted me for this cover, and he asked me if we allow him to have free hand for doing the cover. And this is also part of our intention, like we did with the sound, regarding the sound. We also wanted to have somebody else who's taking care of the cover, because usually for the previous albums, we had pretty much set everything what we wanted, and this page should represent this thing. And so it was very, very structured from the beginning, and we just wanted to find somebody who's able to put our ideas into practice and to materialize it. But this time, actually, we wanted to simply have somebody else taking care of this thing. And actually, when he came and asked us if we allow him to have free hand in doing the cover, we said, yes, you can have free hand. He received the songs, and he started to work as he felt and envisioned our album.
Mm-hmm. I think the album has a very nice strength in sound and as well vision, and it has quite a positive ending, and I can see that as well in Dordeduh. Have you intended to have this positive ending in your albums, or I don't know, making people feel good about it? Because in each album I can see also darkness, but it always ends with an open gate with a lot of light. How did you intend it to have this, or it just came naturally?
It was made in purpose. But honestly, I don't see that song that... I mean, it is a bright song, but for me, there's also a lot of melancholy and not necessarily sadness, but more this melancholy, this yearning for something. And I wanted to have that as well, aside this... bright message that you also mentioned.
Yeah, and the melancholy, which I've defined as darkness. From where that came? I mean, your influences. You said that you said before that you have this black metal insights in yourself. Was that a perspective for your music? Was that somehow, I don't know, or let's say, did you have those influences in mind when you started to write music? And I mean,
actually,
generally.
When I start working on the album, of course, we jam, and we have some parts that we say, okay, this may end up in the next album and stuff like that. But when I actually really start the working for an album, first I prepare the concept for the album, and then I take a look on what we already have as material for the album. Of course, having a recording studio for us is really easy to already record everything and just to recall some parts which are most of the time dated. And I know that I have a folder where I have all these parts that when I'm inspired, I just put my ass in front of the computer and just record it.
Yeah.
And most of the time we actually shape the parts in order to be able to fit the album. And there are actually, I have to say that also for Dordeduh, and we also had some material in between which will probably never be released. But we have probably some side material which we could fill easily to albums. So for us, not everything that we compose and what we record, it ends up in on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Only the things that fit to the narration of the whole album, to the story and to the concept. So first of all, we work on this concept, and yes, in this regard, I had everything planned from the beginning, and it had to be like that. And the ending song, it had to contain this mood and this feeling.
Yeah. And also, yeah, I am quite interested in. I know that Har was somehow, or still is, in top 15 in MTV Germany.
It's not MTV. It's actually the. I also made a mistake in that regard, because MTV was publishing the news, but it is a chart on the whole Germany, as a chart, the main chart of the Germany.
So not just MTV,
one.
everything.
No, not yes. Mm. But this is based mostly on physical sales. And physical sales nowadays, if we ended up in that chart, that's just a sign that things are really, really bad with physical sales. It's not that we became overnight superstars.
Yeah. And how do you think that, I mean, we have just arrived in a subject that, let's say, it's more related to business in music. Yeah. As we know, MTV is one of the biggest channels that shares music with everyone. How much do you think it's business in music compared to artistic, let's say, topics, subjects? Do you think that business is very important or not?
From the point of from the perspective of an artist, or
yeah, from an artist point of view, is an artist is he or she I don't know, let's say, should be related somehow to business points of view? Does the artist have to know business before, I don't know, writing music or so on?
Well, if people would be honest with each other, no, an artist should never. I mean, the best environment for somebody to be able to express and to make a career, actually, in music, is that he takes care and gives 100% to the music. So people should not, from the artistic point of view, people should not get entangled in the musical business it's not their job to know how to do business. Their job is to write a good album, and that should be the main focus. But nowadays you cannot do that, mostly because the rules that govern the music industry are not artist friendly, and they are not made for artists. They are made for people to third parties to earn money, big money.
Mm-hmm.
So in this regard, I think it is good that every band at least has somebody in the band or close to the band who knows a bit about the business side, because actually it is very, very important to be to have a bit of knowledge in this regard.
Yeah,
It's actually sparing you a lot of time and a lot of uncertainties that one could meet during the, I don't know, life of a band.
yeah, for sure. Also, do you think that a musician career is changing during these times, as we were talking about the pandemic and so on, and maybe some psychological aspects that the pandemic is bringing? Do you think that the musician's career will change from today on, let's say?
To be honest, I would not give any kind of opinion in this regard, because I think things nowadays are so uncertain that nobody could really predict what is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because I'm active on different platforms where sound engineers are talking, and not only sound engineers, also people that are related to the entertainment industry, and things are not looking positive at all. And I think this is pretty easy to understand, because from the logistic point of view, if, for example, a band now wants to put together a tour, you will see very, very clearly that I don't know what kind of percentage, but a huge percentage out of the clubs that we used to play, they doesn't exist anymore. Because as an owner, of course, you cannot resist more than 1 year with zero income. Very few clubs and venues own the space. Most of them, they pay a rent for it. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you don't have income, most probably you resist for a couple of months, and after that you close the business.
Yeah.
And this also happened not only on the club's perspective. This also happened with the professional people from the business, who could have the savings to be able to survive more than 1 year and not quit your job.
Yeah, for sure. I know many investors, many, let's say, club owners had issues with their clubs during pandemic, and for sure this has affected everyone who wants to perform live there and so on. And this is somehow a chain which is basically affecting everyone. But from my perspective, I think this will come back somehow, because I think people will not stay and say nothing, and somehow, as I said, we talking here, for example, is also a form of getting people aware of what an artist is doing and what is important for humanity. No, I think art is somehow a thing that feeds us in some way.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I would love to be optimistic about this. And I think, yes, it will turn back in a way or other. But to be honest, the music industry was already very, very unfair towards the artist. And I heard some rumors about what some people in the business want to do and to, I don't know, structure a bit differently the whole business and the whole industry. And that's even less friendly to an artist. And then, of course, you have people like the guys from Spotify who said, yeah, people should just stay and record albums. And
yeah, it's quite...
get earn, I don't know, for hundreds of thousands of listens, you earn, I don't know, $2.
Yeah.
Of course, like this, the people don't realize. I mean, when you are not able to provide a living for a musician, he will never make that thing his first option in life. And he will not become the best that he can get at that, doing that. Because of course, if you, for example, let's take my case. If I would have the financial comfort to be able to spend my time only doing music and earn money of doing music, I definitely would become much better at what I'm doing. Because I spend my 100% energy in that. And I don't have other distraction that I know that today I have to do this and today I have to do that. So my whole attention goes to that. And there are actually people who are very, very passionate about this. And I'm one of these people. This is all I wanted to do since I was born. I remember I was, I think, I don't know, 3 years old when I asked my father for a guitar. So this is all I wanted to do in life.
Yeah, I really agree with you.
Yeah, like this, you cannot have musicians as a career. Yeah. Nobody can do career if there are some scumbags who exploit you at maximum. They take no fucking risk in what they do. And all the risk is actually on the artist. I don't know, for example, if people know, but when you do, for example, a tour with a nightliner, the risk for the whole tour, it's on the shoulders of the headliner.
Yeah,
headliner takes all the risk in that. If, for example, you have a headliner that is not doing very well live, you will see that in sales, and actually they take the risk for that. No other company, no booking agency will take the risk. It's the artist who takes the risk. And this is not fair because another thing that people don't know, of course, now there are different levels of doing business and in music. But for example, let's say that there's a band who, I don't know, gathers, 300 people at the show, right?
Yeah.
And there's a nightliner. A nightliner, the cheapest nightliner that you can get is around €1,000 a day. So when you go in a tour, of course, the headliner receives most of the money, which is because they take also the big risk. But for example, there were so many examples where a sound engineer or a light engineer or a tour manager was actually earning more money than the headliner. And I don't think that this is a natural and this is not fair. position, because actually the artist is the one who gives the jobs to everyone else that is involved in that event.
Yeah, perfectly true, 100%. But have you headlined a tour? Have you felt? I mean, we are getting a bit more into a negative perspective in music and so on, but it's the truth. Have you ever felt that you brought the people and the art there, and the ones which are involved, let's say, behind it, didn't did their work, and you did everything? And have you had this a feeling somehow? And if this is not very comfortable for you, it's not a necessary, let's say, answer. It's not necessary to answer it, but it's quite interesting. This discrepancy between the artist and the people which organizes the event.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, not necessarily with us. We were quite DIY in most of the tours. We kind of did it alone, and we did it. It was not a nightliner tour; it was a van tour most of the time. Mm-hmm. When we headlined the tours, and we also did other tours with nightliners and with other bands, but. I saw many unfair situations. I would not like now to give names and stuff like that, but this is not something that is not often. I mean, the industry is constructed in that way, so nobody will see that there is something illegal or that somebody should earn different money, because everything is agreed in contracts, but those contracts are made in such fashion that it's not artist friendly, simply.
Yeah. Okay. Now getting back to let's say your past and also future, because we were speaking about bands and bands which let's say are the most responsible regarding a show and so on. What band is, or maybe let's say a top 5 of bands which mostly influenced you regarding writing music, or writing music for the band Dordeduh or for the other bands? Which were the bands which basically made you feel that, yes, I should do it, and I should do it better and better?
I don't know. I've been asked this question quite a lot of times, but to be honest, things were not really in this way in my case. I mean, of course, I get inspired when I see a good band, for example, is performing flawlessly live, and they are really, really good musicians. And you see that composition-wise, you're blown away, or there are different aspects that, I don't know, of course, a musician can appreciate on other musician. And this is something that, of course, has an impact on you as a musician, and as an aim to want to become better and better, and to perform better, and to write songs better, and to be, I don't know, to have meaningful music. But I don't know, like to have a band that was, for example, influencing my vision in music. I could not say that I had something like that. I knew from the beginning what I wanted to do, and I know that why I'm doing this and what's my purpose in doing this, and why maybe it sounds a bit fancy, but why I came to this world, what's my message towards the people, and what message I want to spread. And these things were quite clear from the beginning to me. So this is not something that I got from other band, or, of course, like I said, I mean, I see amazing bands performing and I hear amazing albums, but this is not, it has an impact on me as a musician, wanting to become better and get inspired in perform better and in this direction, but not as a vision. Vision wise, I think the only thing that is inspiring me is this calling that I have since I was a child, and I know pretty well why I do this.
Yeah, but let's put it more simple. What do you like to listen now, besides, let's say, the classics? What do you like to listen? And it doesn't have to be a metal band or so on. Any kind of music.
I know that this is probably not the answer that people would expect, but I like to listen to silence. I'm a bit in that point in my life where I'm a bit fed up with music. Everything what I did was related to music. When I was in studio, I worked with music. And after that, let's say in the evening, I went to do the sound for a concert. It was music. And I enjoyed doing that. But I don't feel that I would like to incorporate more music than that in my life. So I have plenty of music in my life. For example, my kids and my girlfriend, they are listening the album in the car. And sometimes I just beg them, can you please just shut the fuck down that music, because I cannot stand that listening anymore. It's for me, it's a bit of overkill regarding music. But for example, I enjoyed very much the last Bölzer album, the Hero album. I like it very much, and I think it's. I've heard a lot of negative reviews about it, but that was really weird, because I think the album is. They also raised a bit the standards, especially songwriting wise, because I think their sound it become better, but it's let's say it's following the previous materials sound wise. It sounds better, but it's the same approach. But songwriting wise, I think they did an amazing job. Also, the last Ruins of Beverus, it's a really, really good album. Unexpectedly good. I enjoyed it a lot. There was...
I must say that I have to agree with you. The Hero album that Bolzer brought us is quite interesting. And as well, I don't know why it had negative reviews, but... for
I actually know why, because people expected more or less to go. I mean, that album, I think even for them it's a bit more experimental, and they tried new things for their sound, and people just wanted the previous stuff. And actually this also happened with us. I mean, people were not giving a fuck that we have now a new name, and that since we released Om with Negura Bunget in 2006, and we released Dordeduh after 2006, 7 years, right? Not 7 years.
Dordeduh is 2012.
Well, 6 years.
Yeah.
And 6 years, I mean, there's a lot of things, and especially, I mean, I started to compose for that album in 2001. So in more than 10 years, a person is changing a lot, not only in musical taste, but also regarding the musical expression. You cannot expect that a band, I mean, there are bands which, I don't know, classic bands like AC/DC, which provide pretty much the same thing album and album, and of course they become better when they have good albums or not that good albums, but they I mean, when you, I don't know, play a CD of AC/DC, you kind of know what to expect. But not every musician is like that. Some people like to explore their sound, to, I don't know, try different things, go a bit more experimental. So, and actually, Bertha did a bit in this regard. They tried new things and a new way of expression, and actually liked what he was expressing, because, and I think he managed it pretty well. I like that album. It's a damn good album.
Yes, getting back to bands, as we were speaking about how a musician is evolving through time. How do you think that, or how do you think that Romanian language was understood, or let's say comprehended, by the European scene, or people which or who don't speak Romanian? How do you think that the lyrics on Har, for example, was or were felt by people which who don't speak Romanian?
Well, of course, this is a sensitive issue, especially because I mean, I saw a couple of reviews that we received for the album, and actually the language barrier was something quite significant. But for this album, we actually provided the lyrics in English, translated on our website. I hope that they are on. Mm-hmm. It's not the best translation, because actually we don't need a translation. We need to adapt our lyrics and somehow still keep the poetry. It's a minimal poetry in our. I don't pretend that I'm a poet, so. But there is a minimal poetry in our lyrics, and I wanted to have that as well. It's really, really difficult to be able to encapsulate the same message and the same vibe when you translate the lyrics or when you adapt the lyrics. So this was a really, really big challenge for us. And I said that this time we will provide the lyrics, and actually now we are working to translate the lyrics also from Dordeduh, and both of this will be available on our website. But super this nice. Time we also wanted to do something else. We also wanted to have one of the songs we were thinking on the Skant to have it also in English. But of course, I asked a couple of people in the music industry that I trust their opinion, and they actually said that our music is actually, it has this exotic vibe, which for some people it would be a downside. But I also agree. I mean, especially coming from the black metal scene. In black metal, I never really saw vocals as vocals are perceived in the, let's say, general speaking context, musical context. In black metal, vocals are more like an instrument. And I always had an approach like this regarding my vocals. Of course, nowadays, my message, at least for me, is really important. And I would like to know that people who doesn't speak Romanian language, they still get the message of it, and they taste the I don't know, the particularity and the mood of that album. And I'm a bit sad that people cannot relate such intimately to this album, because honestly speaking, this is an album that I made for Romanian speaking people.
Yeah.
I was putting a lot this time in lyrics. It's not that in my previous works I was neglecting this aspect. Quite on the opposite, I was always very, very maniac. I'm that kind of guy who's thinking on each fucking word to express exactly what I wanted. And this is why, for example, if somebody, let's say a linguist, will take a look on my lyrics, they will see a lot of incoherent things, because, for example, now it's quite known that we use archaic words. But one word, let's say, is I don't know, from the time of Cantemir. Another word is from some religious writing in a completely different region and a completely different era. But for me, the most important thing, so from this regard, the lyrics doesn't have a coherent trajectory.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, it's really important that I was finding the words that were important for me and that were expressing something. Because sometimes, for example, for somebody, it may feel that word is not belonging there, but actually, I pay a lot of attention to these things. And for this album, I really wanted to, I don't know, move something in the hearts of the Romanian-speaking people. It was something made for them, and especially made for them. And I wanted to transmit this message, full-heartedly.
I must say, well done. From my point of view, it was the album was really moving. As well, I would also like to ask you, besides the metal scene and the scene that we all know and that we think that obviously we are a big family through the whole world, let's say, how do you think that maybe a listener of music but which doesn't listen to metal scene, how do you think that it will comprehend her?
To be honest, I don't know, and I don't really care. I know it sounds bad, but I don't make music to please people.
Yeah.
I do music, and I do music for them, but completely out of different feeling. I felt a servitude towards people. I feel this feeling of serving, and I want to put my creativity in their service. But it's not. This is why also the message from Negru Bunget and also for Dordeduh was always as impersonal as I could make it. Because this is one of the things that actually fascinated me, and I actually adopted also from black metal, that people doesn't really matter there. The message is what it matters. It doesn't matter my personal story or how I view things. I just want to be a channel that, I don't know, is opening up and leaving that things to be transmitted through me. And this is why it was this whole idea and this whole concept of wearing that corpse paint, how it is called, right?
Yeah.
And having a pseudonym is not... Of course, there are some ridiculous aspects in the black metal scene when people call each other demons and whatever kind of, I don't know, impersonation. But in my regard, I see things more from a ritualic point of view. And this ritualic point of view is also boosted very much in the black metal concept. Because, for example, in our band, none of us were, also in Negura Bunget, none of us were choosing our names. Our names were given names.
Mm-hmm.
It was not something that I want to be Lord whatever, the mighty whatever, No, and this is also how it is the procedure in traditional societies. If you go, for example, in an Amazonian tribe, it is the same. I mean, if you are the shaman, that name is given to you by birth. And also, even in Christianity, in Orthodox religion, for example, when you become a monk, you lose your birth name, and actually you're having a given name to you.
Yeah.
And that's the name that you will use from there on, because, and this is an initiatic concept, and this is something that I feel it is right, because in black metal, your self-importance doesn't fucking matter.
Yes. As well, before our discussion, I was listening to an interview or a podcast with Barney Greenway, the frontman of the band Napalm Death. He said a quite, let's say, close thing to your opinion. He said that when we make music, we feel like we are unconscious. We just do things that we just do what we feel, and that's the result. And I think that this is quite close to what you said regarding non-persona artists behind the result. So
but this is just a perspective. I mean, I don't think all the artists should have this perspective. This is a branch, and it's a special approach in music. But there are people who are born to have a rock and roll life, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and they are good at that.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything against that. I'm happy that those kind of artists ever existed, because that's their movie, and that's what they were living for. And they actually also sacrificed their life ultimately to that goal. If we look Lemmy, Lemmy, he did what the fuck he wanted. And that's it, period. And he died proud. He died vertically, with a vertical spine.
Yes, he was maybe the most influential guy in the metal scene right now, because
not necessarily musically, more like an attitude,
lifestyle. Yeah.
And I think also, I mean, I could not say that I always agree with Barney's political views because he's very much into politics. But I was a big fan of his work, and I know that. I remember when Napalm Death was releasing Harmony Corruption. For me, that album was a masterpiece in those years. And actually, I think it's the most death metal album that they ever released.
Yes, it was the death metal, let's say, fashion in those days.
Yeah. But it's a good album. It's a really good album.
Yes. And also, I know maybe a quite simple question for you, but quite interesting for our listeners and for me personally. Have you ever had time to watch movies lately, and what movies do you like to see in general?
This is a special one for me. I'm not very much into movies, to be honest. And this is because I get influenced quite a lot. I mean, when I watch a movie, that movie better be something good for me. If I hate when I watch a movie and my whole mood changes and I, for example, become fucked up, just because I was watching a movie where I had a fucked up theme. And I can suffer out of a movie even for weeks. And I don't like to have this outside things influencing me so much. And this is why I'm not really watching movies. So I'm not really a big movie watcher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So
I'm sorry that I got it off that abruptly, but this is how it is.
Well, it's quite natural. I mean, it's a simple question. I think that, for example, what do you think if a track from Har is somehow established into a movie, maybe during credits, maybe during the movie? How do you think about it?
I don't have anything against that. The only thing that I would be concerned somehow is about the message of that movie, because I don't want to associate my music with something that's not, let's say, in the range of our message.
Yeah.
So, for example, I don't see my music in a political context. I would not allow that.
Mm-hmm. But if this movie would be, let's say, based on a life of a big writer or so on, without any political.
No, it's nice, but they will have to talk with our label for the rights.
Yeah,
it's not. We just could say maybe an opinion that if we would like to associate our music or not about that, but about the rights and the legal stuff, they have to deal with our label.
Mm-hmm. It was just my curiosity because I know many songs from many bands, such as Deftones or many others, which are bigger and so on, had some parts of their songs in many movies. So I was curious about your opinion about it.
Well, we did in studio. We wrote some music for some short movies,
mm-hmm.
and we had a couple of jobs in this regard. And to be honest, I would love to work for movies and doing soundtracks, because I think the type of music that we do and the way that we write music actually could fit really well as a soundtrack. Because, for example, if you take our, let's say, ambiental parts that we have in our music, that could work really easily for soundtrack.
Yes, this is what I wanted to say somehow. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Yeah, some people told me that our music is very visual. Yeah, I'm happy to hear this kind of reviews.
Have you ever thought that you performing live as, let's say, the whole band Dordeduh would have in any concert visuals behind you? Because many bands are doing this, and we're doing
we
that.
Actually did that. We did that even for our anniversary show. We prepared some, for example, for the new song, the Neambergur. We had some projections that actually my colleagues all did. And in one way, I think for some bands, it's really nice to have this cinematic impression about a show. And it's nice and it works really well with the music. But in other bands, I think some projections could steal a bit away from the dynamics of the music. So I don't think that projections could work for every band. But in our case, our music is quite visual, so we could do some stuff. But we also did not want to do some visuals just for the sake of doing some visuals. We wanted to do something that is meaningful for us, and for that, of course, you need a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have money, you have to do it by yourself. So we actually had to spend, for example, my colleague was spending months to be able to do only for one song the visuals for the live performance. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and nowadays it's really harder. Even I could say it's harder and harder to find the time for all our musical expression to be able to materialize what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about this new wave that it's coming into not only metal scene, let's say the whole scene? We also, let's say, a band such Amen Ra or Cult of Luna or The Ocean and many other bands. How do you think that is that evolving? Because this is somehow a new wave in our civilization in music, let's say. Like in the past, in the 90s, right? It was the death metal evolution. How do you think that now this post-metal is evolving? Because I saw many reviews regarding Har that is somehow getting into this post-metal wave. And what do you think about it?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not read anything like that, but to be honest, I am also not checking very much what reviews we receive. Only if my colleagues or the label is sending me, check out what these guys were saying about the album.
This is my first. This was my first feeling when I listened to it. It was really, really. I mean, I know it was not intended to be, but I think I felt it like it was there. You know, I mean, in a positive way. It was really new.
You felt that this album it goes more into post metal and stuff like that?
Yes, for me, yeah, because. If you will listen to the latest Amen Ra and maybe
I'm quite familiar with them, so and also with Cult of Luna.
Yeah, I really feel it. It is because I know maybe on a track of your album you have this a bit electronic thingy there,
Mhm.
and it felt like it goes into this wave, and it is very positive and very new. And how it was intended to be, or it was just
No, definitely
a
not. I
feeling?
mean, no, it's just by coincidence. I mean, but again, when I write music, I'm not really thinking, okay, this part should sound like this, or this part should be black metal, or this should be post rock, or this should be post metal, or whatever, or prog, or electronic. No, it's about musical expression and what we feel that to work better to express a certain feeling. That's what we do. But I'm a bit sorry to disappoint you. Bands like Cult of Luna and Amera, they're not really new wave anymore.
I know,
We played with them. I think with Cult of Luna. First time we played with them at Inferno, and that was in 2007 or something like that.
Yes, I know. They have a whole history behind it, and they were starting maybe in early 2000s and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, a band like Neurosis, no, which is, let's say, it invented this vibe that post metal is, and maybe I'm quite into it right now, and how did you comprehend this genre? Do you think that post metal exists, or it's just a reviewer just invented this word, and it just came? How do you feel about it?
I'm not good at all in this categorizing these musical genres. I'm really bad in that. But for me personally, this music make much more sense live. To be honest, I know, for example, Neurosis for I don't know many years. But I never really, for example, if I want to listen Neurosis, I prefer to play a live recording than to listen their studio albums. Probably it is also because of the production. I don't really think that that raw vision of mixing and producing their albums, especially in the past, it was really suited to their music. Because, for example, when you saw them live, it was like, I don't know, a mountain was falling into your head, you know. It was really, really strong and really this wall of sound feeling. And when you were listening the same song recorded, it doesn't had much sense for me, honestly. So I prefer this kind of music. I enjoy it much more live than listening it at home. But regarding the style, I don't know what to say. I think yes, it is a new movement. Even if you see their look doesn't really fit into, let's say, the
classics,
the classic metal outfit.
Yeah.
So they define things differently in their ways, and it's a different way of expression. So why not? Yeah, it's a new style, it's a new genre, it's a new term.
So yeah, just speaking about it, I must say that for me, I'm a very big Neurosis fan, and I followed them wherever. And the first concert that I saw was shocking. I somehow felt that Dordeduh is let's say, the neurosis of Eastern Europe somehow. I mean, Romania. It had that feeling. Neurosis also has some traditional aspects regarding American Indians and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dordeduh somehow gathered this vibe of Romanian antics and Romanian, let's say, feelings which are in all of us, and showed them to the world. And this is why I tend to make this comparison. How do you think about it? Have you ever, I don't know, maybe someone told you about this, or someone have you ever think about it? Because it's quite nice to see that from your country something this so consistent and is coming and showing this vibe to the whole world. How do you think about it?
For me, for example, I saw Neurosis first time at Roadburn. So it was mind-blowing. And the funny and the interesting part and humbling part was that that was actually our last show we had with Tenguru Bunjet ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that my colleagues were talking with the guys from Neurosis, and they actually showed us appreciation for our music, and we were like, what the fuck, man? It was completely unexpected for us. And I remember I could not say now the name of whom, but I think one of them was even familiar with what we were playing. They knew our band. So for us, it was really, really nice. But I never envisioned things in this way. I mean, I don't feel that we are the Neurosis of Romania in either way. But of course, this is a nice compliment. It's a humbling compliment. For me, I never... I also wrote in reviews that they were making comparisons with Devin Townsend. Devin Townsend, for me, is God. I mean, his level of musical expression and everything that he achieved as a musician is probably one of a kind.
Yeah.
I really admire him. And also as a person, I think he's a very wise person, and he understood a lot of things human-wise, and I don't know, his experience got enriched in his path, in his journey, in his musical career. And of course, these kind of things are humbling. It's, let's say, when people are comparing you with your heroes, it's a really nice thing. But from my perspective, I never saw things like this. And to be honest, I was not thinking in that way.
Yeah, it was just a personal confession, let's say.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, you were speaking about your last show with Negura at Roadburn. Will you ever play Roadburn again if it will be the chance?
Definitely, it's one of the best festivals I ever played. To be honest, the atmosphere over there is quite unique. I did not witness Woodstock.
Yeah.
But it has a bit from what I think Woodstock was back then. It's of course it is in Netherlands.
Yeah.
And of course you smell weed everywhere. But it's a really relaxed and artist-friendly environment. Things are very professional. People are super nice. Everything is organized perfectly. I don't know, the audience is, they are, of course, nowadays it's a kind of hype around Roadburn Festival. You see that if you want to, buy some tickets for the festival, I think in 20 minutes they are gone.
Yeah,
so it's a huge demand for it, and probably this hype it's changed a bit the vibe. But in 2009, things were super authentic. It was everybody who was there. It was nearly each person was a really big fan of music, and the bands that they were playing. We shared the room with Cathedral. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah,
it's nice. It's probably one of the best festivals I ever been. Of course, I would say yes.
Honestly, for me, it was. I mean, it is some kind of a dream. Maybe if in 2022, when everything will be, let's say, more approachable, and our attendance to a festival will be more easier. And I hope that it will be, maybe not in 2022, maybe 2025 or so on. I hope that Har will be performed by Dordeduh entirely, and I think it will have a very, very good, let's say, impact in Roadburn's audience. I'm speaking about this festival because it influenced me to start this Heavy Ritual podcast, and I really hope that Dordeduh will be there in some ways.
Yeah, I also hope. I could say that we had also for previous edition some discussion about playing over there with Walter.
Yeah.
And by the way, Walter was announcing that in 2012, in 2022, it will happen. He just announced.
Yeah,
so let's hope that it will happen. Yeah, my dream is to go with my girlfriend there again.
Mm-hmm.
She used to live in Netherlands for a couple of years, and she was traveling in the same venue where this festival is held. She also saw Porcupine Tree and other amazing, even Nocturnus for the death metal fans. Which is really rare to see in Europe. She had the chance to see them there.
Super nice.
So I hope that we're gonna go there one day.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope that in 2022 this will happen. But now speaking about festivals, I know that you will play Brutal Assault and Prophecy Fest. How will that happen? How did you manage to play live? Because everyone is, in this new world, let's say.
Yeah, we've been contacted by the organizers, and we said yes.
And how do you think that it will happen? People will stay in. It will be limited to a number of people, or how it will be that?
Well, I think organizers are a bit still in a certain degree of uncertainty, because of course things can evolve overnight in a dramatic way. So nobody can predict 100% what is going to be. I was talking also with Martin from Prophecy, and they don't necessarily have a fixed scenario for everything. because as an organizer, you have to think on all the scenarios that could happen. So to not be confronted overnight with something that you cannot handle. So things are a bit tricky, and of course, this context is not easy one for anyone, and the least one for organizers. So hopefully things gonna be good. We also will announce quite soon some other festivals that we will participate this summer. So it's not gonna be those two ones are not gonna be the only ones.
Yeah, let's hope so. As well, I know that after releasing an album, somehow a tour will come, and when you will play Cluj, have you ever thought about it? For example, I know maybe some organizers already invited you to their venues. Did
there is any place in Cluj except Form to play?
Maybe only Hard Club. And
it's still open, Hard Club.
Yeah, it is. And I think the owner will welcome you.
But I know unfortunately we cannot play on that small stage.
Yeah, it is very small.
Yeah, nowadays we also have a special show, and we would like to provide that more and more with percussion on the stage, and with a bit extended lineup, and we would not be able to perform that on that stage. But in Form, yes, but this is not something that we can have any kind of influence in, because if the organizer is not inviting us to play in a place, we cannot go, oh, can you please pick us, please.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that. So if they will invite us and the context will be favorable, sure, we go and play.
Super nice. I hope that somehow it will happen. I know you had an interview with Electric Castle, for example. Have you ever thought that maybe you will play Electric Castle in an edition or a certain stage or so on?
Well, we actually will play. I don't know when you will release this podcast, but hopefully till then they will announce that too.
A big news in my podcast, right?
Yeah, it's not a big news, but yes. Yeah, we have a deal with them, and we will play Electric Castle, indeed.
Super nice. So
yeah, which is really surprising for us, because everybody in Romania know that Electric Castle is not a metal specialized festival. It's more into electronic music, and to have us there, it's really, I don't know, flattering.
Yes, I hope that will become, let's say, real, and people will join, and I think it will be quite challenging because, yeah, as you said, many electronic music fans and so on will attend there. So it will be quite interesting on playing metal music as you do on those stages, or maybe or any stage. I think it will be quite interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that they will do some new stuff, and they have let's say a different approach. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a metal stage, but for example, I know already some other big names that I cannot share with you that will play there, and they are not from electronic. It has something in common with electronic music, but they are not electronic music band. It's more related to the metal music, and they will play there as well.
And now getting more into details, but if you don't want to share, it's fine.
I cannot share this. I probably should not have shared also my news.
Will this?
I don't like to lie, so
yeah, it's fine. Will this be this year or next year?
This year, yes, this year.
This year, okay. Mm-hmm. I will make sure that I will be there, and maybe we will meet face to face finally.
Sure, why not?
Edmond, thank you very much for attending to Have a Ritual Stories. It was really an honor to hear you, and that you had time to do this, and I hope that we will do this again. Let's say on your next album or next a project or so on. Maybe you will release an album with Transceatla or Sunset in the 12th house. I will be very honored to hear from you news and so on.
Sure, it was my pleasure. Anytime when you want to have me, just contact me and I will be here.
Thank you very much, Edmond, and
thank you.
It was a pleasure.